Hi, I'm Dr. Jason J. Campbell, and I want to thank you for taking the time to watch my videos. In this video, I'm continuing my lecture into Nietzsche's Will to Power. Specifically, I'm going to be doing section 10 of the notes. This lecture is the first lecture after the contributions from Ian Mathwis 7 and Pipla Pippo. So I'm going to incorporate a lot of what they said. Hold on, let me just start this. I'm going to incorporate a lot of what they said into the lecture series today, because I really feel like much of what I'm learning, much of what I heard in going through and watching their videos is helping to reshape the way in which I approach Nietzsche for, the third time. So for me, what I want to do is incorporate that interpretive distinction into this new series. And as you guys know, I'm using the Walter Kaufman translation of Nietzsche's Will to Power. The notes also will be available. Just click the link in the description box. It'll take you to the notes. Print the notes out, follow along. I'll be updating the notes regularly, so every time you watch an installment of Will to Power, just check to make sure that the notes have been updated. It should be fine. So this is going to be notes 315 through 329, and this will complete Book 2, Part 4, and then the section after this will be Book 2, Part 5. So with that, let's begin Nietzsche's Will to Power. So this is Will to Power. And this is section 10. Okay, notes 315 to 329. Alright, what we're going to talk about in this section, what Nietzsche is talking about in this section, and the way that I've structured this segment of the lecture series, is to discuss the notion of communal morality, right? Communal morality. Not the morality of an individual, which we've been doing for quite a while, and not morality as a system of ethical judgment, a system of ethical prescription, a system of ethical mandates, but what does morality look like at the communal level? Obviously, it's almost impossible for me not to have been influenced by my experience at the occupation rally that I attended. And I attended the occupation rally as just someone interested in understanding what the phenomenon was about. So I attend the rally, I go, I edit the video, put the stuff up into cyberspace, and I go back home now, and now I put on my philosopher hat. I'm reading Nietzsche intensely. I've been absorbed into the lecture series almost 50 hours. I'm approaching the goal that I initially set. I wanted to do a 50-hour lecture series, 150 videos, if you guys remember, was the initial goal. And we're very, very readily approaching the 50-hour mark. So for me, I'm immersed. We're immersed in Nietzsche. A lot of the way that I interpret the world is interpreted through Nietzsche, among many, many other philosophers. But for me, primarily, Nietzsche's interpretation of the world is an interpretation that influences me a lot. So when we do the discussion today on communal morality, I look at the phenomena of the occupation of cities by very dejected, very upset, very frustrated men, women, and even some children that I saw there. There was a young boy of 15 or 16 years old that I saw at the rally that spoke. The initial problem that I felt was that there was a lack of cohesion, right? That there wasn't one uniform voice. But then after reading Nietzsche, the question is this the new model, right? I'm still not, I'm going to work through this. Obviously I have notes structured, but I'm going to try and work through, and in the back of my mind, think about the occupation movement, because I'm still very interested in the movement, right? I'm still very interested in the fact that the movement, unlike many other movements, doesn't have a singular voice, doesn't have a singular theme, doesn't really have a cohesion of anything, nothing. Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? I think it's a new thing. I don't know that I can say it's good or bad, but it's definitely new, and it's very interesting. It's just a very interesting movement to watch. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to talk about the idea of herd mentality, right? The idea of communal morality. For me, as an academic, as someone who reads quite a bit of Nietzsche, I mean, I'm going through the text yet again. It is always the hairs stand up on the back of my neck when I hear collective chanting, right? So I go to the occupation rally, and it's the segment of the video where I'm filming myself and I make a reference to Fight Club. And initially I didn't know what was going on, right? I didn't know what was going on, but this is sort of how you amplify people's voices. It's very ingenious. My initial response is everyone's talking. It's all one voice, it's all one sound. It's very, that is, I'm on end when the mass talks as one. When there's one single literal voice of the mass, it's unnerving for me. But then again, when everyone's talking and there's no cohesion in voice, then I don't understand. So there is an attempt in which the occupation movement, and this is not a lecture about the occupation movement, but obviously when we're talking about community and communal morality, it's going to be difficult for me not to incorporate the experiences that I had this past week into the lecture. I just want to put that out there so that you yourself make your own determination of what's going on, right? How is it that we talk about communal actions? How do we talk about communal activism, if you want to take it to that activist sense, right? How can you talk about that and recognize the fact that this particular type of activism, the occupation as activism, it seems to be the case that the theme is there are independent voices, that there isn't one structured singular figure, there isn't one structured singular tone, which in a sense weakens the effectiveness of the group. But then when the group speaks literally in one voice, then that becomes threatening in a sense. How is that balance attained? I don't have answers. I don't have answers to that. But what I do want to do is I do want to within this lecture series address sort of the dangers of collective communal morality, right? The idea to be part of the group, right? This is not a challenge to the occupation, right? Activism, I'm a big fan of activism. I have to be personally, emotionally attached to whatever the concept is, but I'm absolutely activist. What I do is activist. It's just an activism that requires just one person, myself, right? Educational activism is sort of my banner. But with that, I don't want to beat a horse, just beat that to death, that point to death. But the whole idea is in addressing these new notes in Nietzsche, just keep that in the back of your mind and see what you think, what sense can be made of what we're saying and what's going on today in the U.S. Okay, so requirements for communal morality. Requirements for requirements for communal morality. I'm going to need a marker already. This is the middle of page 55. Okay, the first thing Nietzsche says is they should change their character, right? They should change